Good afternoon, YouTubers. It's very hot here in Spain. It's the 2nd of August and it's super hot, and I'm just sitting in the shade in the boat. What's the 30 degrees in the shade, so goodness knows what it is out there, but luckily we've got a little bit of breeze to keep us cool. Wife's downstairs, she's trying to keep cool. We're just trying to stay out the sun because it's in the height of the day. It's 4:20 at the moment, and I've deliberately kept off the subject of this guy, the Southport stabber. And credit where credit's due, the judge has actually released his name because there's been a lot of speculation about nonsense, and I haven't jumped on the bandwagon for clicks and things. I've just left it and just sat off because I'm as shocked as anyone. I don't know anything any more than you do, but people have asked me, this guy Axel Rudakubana CAT A. Now the story is that he came from Cardiff. He was born in Cardiff. His parents were immigrants from Rwanda. Now don't forget, I think he's coming up to 18, he'll be 18 in about a week. So his parents must have come over to the UK during the genocide. I can only describe it as genocide. There's two countries on the border of Uganda. One's Rwanda, the other one's Burundi, and you can Google it. I'm not going to go into great detail because you don't need that. If you wanted to get the details, you'd Google it and you'll find out for yourself. I'm going to cover it really basically, but there was massacres, there was civil wars, there was all kinds of, and I remember some of the most horrific things coming out, slaughtering people. You know, they just had got it into their heads one day they were just all going to kill each other. These two little countries, two little zits in the middle of Africa, and they just went on the rampage, just raping and killing and murdering everybody. You saw images of women tied with their hands tied behind the back, kneeling down, and they put a tyre round their head filled with petrol and just lit it, and you just watch these people burn and you think, oh my God, what the is going on there? Why? What's going on? Anyway, there were genuine refugees like running off in all directions, as you would. Generally what happens in these situations where the whole country implodes into genocide, there's two kinds of people. Ones that want to go and get tucked in and murder people and be murdered, and the ones that want to run off and run away. So they were genuine refugees from a war zone, okay? But this kid has obviously been born in Cardiff in the UK, and now that they've released his name, that's a good thing, because there'll be loads of people googling him, be trying to find him on Facebook and find him, because he must have some sort of trace. We've all got internet, haven't we? And we've all been on different websites posting stuff, and the detectives out there, the internet detectives, will be googling away and they'll be trying to find out as much information about them as they can. As I said, it's unlikely he'll be a Muslim, because Rwanda is predominantly a Christian country, although you wouldn't think so, would you, with all the genocide. I think Burundi is predominantly Christian as well. It says a lot for Christians, doesn't it? Anyway, that was a long time ago, and we know what this guy's done. I'm not going to go into that. But people have been asking me what sort of thing, what will he be going through in jail now as we speak. Now normally what would happen is he'd be remanded in custody, obviously, and because it happened in Merseyside, Southport's Merseyside, okay, it's a town just north of Liverpool. It's up the coast a bit from Liverpool, it's there, and my family in particular have got connections in Southport. There's Hesketh Park, Hesketh Road, Hesketh Arms, Hesketh Golf Club. Hesketh Bank. I mean, this guy's from the banks. There's the banks, and then there's Hesketh Banks further over. So a lot of my family would have come from that area, and obviously my family was from Liverpool itself. So because Hesketh's a big family, you know, they're all over. So they will have taken this guy to magistrate's court, as they did, as you saw yesterday in Liverpool, which means he's probably held in Walton Prison, which is Liverpool's local prison, and he won't be on normal location. You see, people get locked up in jail for all kinds of things, and whatever you get locked up in jail for, they put you in a jail, and you're on what's known as normal location. You're on the landings with all the other villains who have broken the law and cheated and done one thing or another. But this guy is different. He's in for a heinous, most despicable crime, so he will be category A without a doubt. Category A, which means he's in solitary confinement in a cell right next to the screws on the wands, as they call it, on the ground floor. You'll have the screws office, and you'll have CAT A cells right next to them, and they'll be watching him. They'll be watching him every 15 minutes. They'll be watching. They might even have cameras in the cells these days, so they're watching him. So I mean, just being in the CAT A cell, solitary confinement, he probably hasn't got a TV or a radio. He might have, I don't know, but they never did in my day. But I'm going back a while, and he'll also be on suicide watch. So the screws are supposed to watch him every 15 minutes and make sure he hasn't tried to kill himself. And you get razors in jail, you know, and they'll be super on the ball with razor blades for CAT A prisoners, because, you know, there's your razor blade, give us your razor blade back when you finish shaving and stuff like this. They don't let you have it and mess about with it and try and there's two kinds of suicides in jail, mainly the swingers and slashers, the screws call them. Now, most of the prison population in Walton jail will just be your average scouser in the street who's been on the rob or done whatever, drugs and just car theft, whatever, and they'll all be on the landing, and they'll all be wanting to kill him for sure. It only takes a moment, and he'll be kicked to death straight away, bang, without a doubt. And the screws know that, and the screws, don't forget, the screws are normal people like you and me, but they're wearing a uniform. They probably come out of the army and swap one uniform for another uniform, and they won't like him very much, but the onus is very much on them to protect him, and you know, raise the alarm if they think he's trying to terminate himself. And so they'll be watching him 100% of the time. And being in solitary confinement is it will do anyone's head in. It'll drive you mad in about 3 months, you know, without a doubt. So you've got the entire prison population wanting to kill him, kick him to death, and you've got potential suicide. So, you know, people say to me, well, will he survive? Will he make it? And you get people spitting in his food and all kinds of, you know, it's just, I can't imagine why he's done it. I really can't. Or what was going through his head. He's got to be a loon, hasn't he? Or maybe he's mentally ill. Maybe he's got issues, you know. We don't know. We don't know any of these things, but he will be banged up in category A in that cell, and he won't go out for walkies at the same time as everyone else. Everyone else goes for exercise for an hour, goes walking around, and then weekends they might get a bit longer, they might not. It depends on the regime in the actual jail and the governor and how they want to do it. But the category A and the E-men and the 43Bs, they'll go in a different exercise yard, and they'll be with a cage in case they try to fly away, you know, or helicopters and things. So they'll be proper monitored, and they won't leave that cell ever without two prison officers, and they'll escort him to the showers. They'll be watching him while he's in the showers, you know, and they'll be escorting him back to his cell. And when he gets his food, when the server comes around, the A-men always come out first with the E-men and the real 43Bs, and they get their food first. They get banged back up, doors are locked, and they can get everyone else out for their food on the servery, and that's how it works. And chances are, will he make it? Because he's not going to get up in court for a year. It'll be about a year. I know they've tried to fast track it. They've preliminarily chalked him in for next January, haven't they? But it probably won't happen. Something of this scale. There's a lot of investigation, a lot of statements to take. There's all kinds of things. I mean, we're all assuming he's guilty, aren't we? But the man is entitled to a fair trial. So, innocence until proven guilty. Although everyone thinks he's guilty, because the police aren't looking for anyone else, are they? In connection with it, and we don't know. We don't know how he's going to plead. He might plead not guilty on the grounds of diminished responsibility. He might, goodness knows what he might plead guilty. We don't know. We don't know. But chances of him. I mean, he's thrown his life away. He's completely thrown his life away. And don't forget, his parents have lost a child as well. I'm not trying to stick up for him, not at all. But they've lost their son. He's injured because on a guilty, this guy's going to get life on life on life. He's going to get like 3 life sentences, isn't he? And it's unlikely he's ever going to get out. So is he going to make it to the trial? Is he going to expire before the trial? I don't know. But chances are, the odds are against him, I think. I really do. So is he having a cushy time? Is he on the telly, on the remote control? Is he on the internet? No, he isn't. Okay, he isn't. And they'll take all his clothes away, everything at night. There'll be nothing in his room, just a pair of pajamas and blankets, and then they'll give you your things back in the morning. All goes in a box outside the door. And there's no way he's coming off category A until he's been and had his trial and been convicted. And once he's been convicted, he won't stay in Walton jail. Walton's a local nick where all the local offenders get locked up until they've been processed and convicted, and then they send them off to different jails around the country depending on what category they are. He'll stay category A. He'll be going to a category A jail if he gets convicted, which I'm pretty confident that he will, considering what he's done. I know that's a bit prejudgmental, and yes, the guy is entitled to a fair trial. Of course he is. Innocent until proven guilty. But I think we all know he's guilty, don't we? Which is very bad of me to say. But yeah, he'll go off to somewhere like Full Sutton, which is a category A jail, I would imagine, and his whole prison sentence, people will be trying to kill him. That's just a fact. Screws. I've seen Screws turn to the lads and say, "See that guy over there? He's a nonce, and I'm not looking." And they've gone like that, and they've been straight on him, bang, wallop, boot, 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 and it's all over in seconds. And then someone's blown a whistle and they've gone, "Oh, no, sorry sir, what's happened? Oh no, I didn't see. I was otherwise occupied. Very sorry about that." I've seen it happen. Hot water and lots of sugar in it and all kinds of nastiness. But no, I mean, he will not be having a good time. He will be suffering a lot. I can guarantee it. And it's just such a shame. I can't think of what would have gone through his head. I mean, what? Nobody does that. Nobody. What was? And people say, "Well, don't speculate. You're not allowed to speculate because you're probably wrong." Well, yeah, we can't help it, can we? We do speculate. We think, well, what on earth would drive someone to do that? It's got to be lunatic and off your fucking head to go around doing something like that. I mean, if he did it, the rational mind, for shock content, to draw attention to something that's happening somewhere else in the world where children are being killed, these things will come out because he'll have been on the internet, on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, making his feelings known, and these things. That's why give credit to the judge for actually giving out his name. I mean, there was over the weekend, people were releasing the name of who they thought it was, who'd come over on a boat. He was a refugee from Syria. His name was Ali al-Shati or something like that. And al-Shati is a refugee camp in Gaza, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that in there. It was all complete bollocks, right? He wasn't a refugee on a boat or anything. And I can only imagine who would have pumped that narrative for their own ends, I'm sure. Anyway, enough of that one. It's a very hot day, and I say I'm looking out. You probably can't see Gibraltar from here. It's. I'll just show you outside because you can't look. It's too bright. The camera's got to adjust. And it's too windy out here. There's the rock of over there. And someone was saying to me the other day, I don't understand. You know, the rock of Gibraltar, is it Spain or is it Britain? And coming out with these stupid questions. But don't think it's a stupid question, because it's not a stupid question. It's a reasonable question. I was always trained, especially when I was in flying training. If in doubt, ask. Do not be afraid to ask the stupid question, because it might save your life if you don't fully understand it and you're going, oh yeah, don't want to ask the question because I don't want to feel stupid. I mean, that's why I'm one of these people that will ask stupid questions if I don't understand something. I'll go, excuse me, can you tell me why the bleeding obvious? Bleeding obvious. Anyway, what's all the big kick-off about Gibraltar? People say, I don't understand why the Spanish are so like about Gibraltar. Well, it was Spanish, yeah, it was. But America was British, wasn't it? Parts of America was British, you know. And you lost it in a war, and you think, well, bollocks to you. It was hundreds of years ago, you lost it, so here está. That's it, goodbye. And that's how it goes on. But the difference with Gibraltar is, I'll try and give it from a Spanish perspective, although I am British, so I'm obviously biased. And there's no way we're going to give up the rock ever to Spain, right? You can look into this in history. I'm not going to bore you with history because you can look it up, you can Google it. If you want to see it in depth, I'll give you the brief outline. The Moors invaded Europe in 711. Okay, they came over here, they landed right here, they colonised Gibraltar, they built the town, they built the Moorish castle, the lot, they even named the place. Anyway, they had it for something like 650 years, something like that, and the Spanish were fighting them for it on and off the whole time. I think they actually captured it for 22 years or something like that, and the Moors took it back, and so that they really were fighting to get it back. Remember El Cid, the gates of Valencia, and the Muslims, and that's why Andalusia and southern Spain's got such a massive Moorish influence in the architecture and everything, even up to Granada. It's amazing. So the last two places to fall to the Spanish at the end of that era was Malaga and Gibraltar. And when the Spanish finally took Gibraltar from the Moors, I've written it down, 1462, there you go, 1462. The Duke, the local Duke, it was the Duke of Sidonia, is it Sidonia? Sidonia. His uncle or relative, who led an attack on Gibraltar previously, been captured and had his head chopped off. His body was put in a basket and dangled from the wall of the Moorish castle. It was there swinging in the wind for 20 years, and then when they finally took it, they cut him down, his bones obviously, and took him back to Sidonia, and buried him with full honours and the likes. And so the Spanish had finally taken Gibraltar from the Moors after a 600-year conflict. Okay, and they held it for 242 years. It was Spanish. And then then the Dutch and the British came along and took it. And that was in the king had died, the King of Spain had died, and there was no one. There was no rightful heir. So, because all kings and queens used to marry each other in those days, and so the French went, yeah, we're the nearest relative, we're going to take Spain. And the Austrians jumped up and said, no, was it Habsburgs? I can't remember. Anyway, they said, no, we're the nearest relative because cousin John. So they had the Spanish War of Succession, okay, which came into play. The French and the Austrians arguing over who was going to be King of Spain. And the Dutch and the British backed the Austrian because they never wanted back the French, did they? Because they were enemies. We've all been enemies with each other at various times in history. That's what happens, you know. It's how civilizations evolve. And in the meantime, the British and the Dutch had taken Gibraltar 1704 and held it ever since. So yeah, the Spanish are pissed off about it because the Austrians actually won the claim and they became King of Spain, and they said thank you very much for taking Gibraltar for us on our behalf. We'd like it back now, please. And they went which again caused lots of other wars, which I'm not going to go into, but just in case you wanted to know why Gibraltar is not Spanish, then now you know. And lots of wars, lots of battles were fought since, and they never managed to take it back. But one last thing I wanted to say was the Spanish people of Gibraltar who lived there for 242 years and were given the colours of Gibraltar by the Queen Isabella. It's a red and white flag with a castle and a key hanging from it, and I think it was in a shield with the crown. The people of the Spanish people of Gibraltar were thrown out, all of them, when the British and the Dutch, because they kept going down cutting soldiers' throats at night and things like that, all kinds of madness. So they threw everybody out. They said, right, get out. And that's it. They could just take what they could carry, and they had carts and horses and things, and they took all their possessions. And they took the flag, the colours, the Spanish colours that the Queen had given them, and they went up the road to the top of the hill up there, and they built a new town on top of the hill called San Roque, which is Saint Rock. That's what it means. And the people of the Rock of Gibraltar were there waiting with their flag for the King of Spain to take Gibraltar back from the British, and so they could move back. And they're still waiting, they're still up there. And if you look at the flag of Gibraltar today, it's the same flag. The British just kept it. They said, well, they've captured Gibraltar, they captured the Queen of Spain's colours, and they've still got the same red and white flag with the castle and the key. It's slightly different because it was in a shield with the Spanish crown on top, but it's the same flag pretty much to this day, and that's how it is. So yeah, it's a bit of a thorn in the Spanish side, the shame of Spain, because they managed to take it, and it took them 2 weeks to take it. Apparently, the main force was Dutch, and Admiral Rook, I think he was called, had his Marines, because the Royal Marines had only just come into force. They just called them the Marines, and to this day the Marines have got Gibraltar on their cap badge, per mare per terram, which means by sea, by land. Of course they go by air as well these days, but yeah, that's it. That was the first engagement really for the Royal Marines. That's why Gibraltar and the world and the anchor and everything's on their cap badge. Interesting bit of stuff for you to look into if you're interested. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope I didn't bore you, and I'll see you in the next video.